Hey, welcome to Ninon Speaks, Media Image. And of course, you know why it's Ninon Speaks, because Ninon actually, which is myself, never shuts her mouth. All she does is all day long is yak, 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 yak. But it's pretty cool because I come up with information, I come up with stuff, and I come up with research. I just want to thank everybody out there for joining us, for making this very, very successful. Ninon Speaks has been around for a long time, but as I said before, it's never been on Zoom. And it's a funny thing because Zoom is now very popular, and this all kind of happened by accident. We really didn't plan it to be on Zoom. We didn't plan it to be on the internet, but here we are, and we have the most incredible guests because AJ, who is the producer of the show, actually finds all these people and sort of we've got a lovely little realm going around. But I just want to thank you, audience, because without you nothing happens, believe me. So let me go right ahead and introduce you to AJ, my co-host, and she's going to let us know who's coming on the show today.
Yes, we have a dazzling show tonight. We have Neil Nez Kendall. He is a fabulous world-renowned and legend burlesque photographer, director, and producer. And we also have Suzanne Ramsey, also known as Kitten on the keys. She's a musician and singer, and she's absolutely wonderful. So we have such a great show. May I admit them, Ninon?
Of course, absolutely admit that, but I remember seeing a photograph of this young lady, and she's got her little feet on all these keys and everything. Dancing on the keys, that's what I like. Oh, there she is. Oh my Gideon, look at you all. You've got to bring her, there you are. There you go. There she is. You dolled up. You've got, my goodness gracious. This is, hey, admin. What is the gentleman's name? I've got
Neil Nez Kendall. Let me introduce Neil. He is from Cheshire, England. He is a fabulous world-renowned burlesque legend. As I mentioned before, he's a photographer, director, and producer, and is working on a vintage burlesque book called Mondo Burlesque, which will feature our very own Georgette Dante. Please follow him on Facebook and Instagram. And hello, Neil. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much. Good evening from England.
My goodness. I love to hear that voice. Hey, Neil, where are you from?
Originally from up near the Lake District in Lancashire.
Oh,
so I've been all over the world since then. So I've lost my accent slightly.
Are you settled back in England again?
I am. Yeah. Well, as settled as I can be. We're in lockdown here. So lovely to see you all. But this is such a welcome distraction. So thank you for having me.
Lockdown because we're all in a place and we all want to be somewhere else. This is the strangest thing because I'm from Torquay. I was born in Torquay.
Ah, beautiful.
So yes, it is quite lovely there. But also, you know, I want to go back home to see everybody and I can't. You can't leave. None of us. We're all sort of told to stay. We've got to stay where we are.
Exactly. Yeah.
Susie, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Nice to see you all. Hi there.
Love
Hello.
that. That's amazing. Listen, Susie Ramsey, do you really, really dance on the keys? Do you get up on your little toes, go running around on the keys, or?
No, but the little kitty cats in my head do.
That's in my head.
Tiny little cat paws are like on my gray matter going.
How old were you when you first started to play the piano, Suze?
I was 6 years old. It was forced upon me because I'm from the suburbs. It's like ballet and piano, and I was terrible at both of them.
Yeah. In England, when kids, when they have nothing to do, you're going to take piano lessons, you're going to take the flute, you're going to do the, right? Isn't that what?
Oh, and then Proposition 13 came into California and they cut all of the arts, which is a big, big, big tragedy. So I'm not complaining about having the arts forced on me as a little one.
You know, it's funny to talk about the arts, but I had a show called Voices of Tomorrow. And the reason I had that show, because I was bringing in the communications and the media back into the schools. And I did this every week. And I'd have all these kids on to let them know. And some of the kids would do the behind the scenes, they do the cameras. And I showed them a whole way that they could actually be back into the media. And I used to teach them exactly. And it was all over television everywhere. And it was really cool because the kids had, and you're right, Proposition 13 came in and bang went all the media and communications in all the schools.
And all the music, all instrumental music, all drama, everything.
Everything just completely disappeared. So anyway, so how's it in England? Where are you now in England?
I am in my little man cave in Chester, in historic Chester. It's like a Harry Potter city. It's really beautiful. Kitten, you should come. You would love it.
I will definitely come. I love what you've got surrounding you. Now, I understand, well, through the grapevine, you're very famous. You've been around the world. You actually do photography, but were you at one time a burlesque dancer as a male?
No, I would love to be. I have given it a go. One Halloween, I had this amazing, they used to have these like vintage burlesque acts called half and halves. So
Yeah.
you might be like half like a lion tamer and half a lion, you know? So you'd have like a puppet on your shoulder.
Yeah.
So one Halloween, I did do this amazing striptease with the devil mounted on my shoulder. And once was enough, you know? It was an amazing experience, but yes, yeah, not a performer.
That was your great experience. How did you get into the photography of burlesque? Because to me, that must be fascinating, only because of, you know, how burlesque people are and what they do and how they make. You must have got some incredible photographs.
Well, it's just such a rich tapestry of performers. You know, Suzanne will attest to that. I get people come dressed as like giant octopuses or giant lobsters with these incredible costumes. Then I get the classic sort of bump and grind artists, people of all nationalities and races and colors. So it's this incredible sort of colorful world, but it's been my world for so long now, maybe 30 years. So I love it. I love living in it.
I love how you said the word texture and tapestry, because that's one thing I love about your photography is it's not just a person against a backdrop. It's a whole world with tapestry, and it's really incredible. I've admired your work for so long.
Yeah, you're right, because, you know, it's funny. You can, and I love when I see a photo, when I was on set, you know, I'm always on set. But suddenly I see a set and I say, you've got to take that photograph right away. And then they go fiddling with their camera and it's gone.
Yeah, yeah.
You can get the greatest photographs if you get that right away, you know, and you have that eye, obviously, to click that camera right away, because you lose it and it never comes back. Oh, I'll repose it. It'll never be the same as it was. And it's capturing that photograph at that time when you can do it. So it's absolutely amazing.
I wanted to ask if Neil could talk a little bit. He had a royal encounter. Is that right? One day in your burlesque events?
I did, yeah. This was when I lived in London. And there's all these really crazy fancy clubs. And I was shooting in this club called the Mahiki. And this very kind of very aristocratic young guy ran it called Guy Pelly. And he was friends with the two princes. So yeah, Harry and William came into the club and I was there actually photographing a girl in a giant oyster shell because they had this amazing tropical decor in there. So they were really lovely. This is maybe 2007, 2008. So we came into the club and they, you know, I was telling them all about burlesque and it was very kind of like, you know, a really lovely encounter. So yeah.
Now what Neil is talking about, he's talking about Prince William and Prince Henry's, am I correct?
Harry, yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to let our audience know that you kind of mix with royalty, but then burlesque is also kind of royalty as well.
Well, you know, it's filled with queens.
There you go. See what I said? It's royalty. They're all queens and princesses up there.
Absolutely.
Hey, Susan, do you count yourself as a princess, or you look more like a queen, my dear?
Nah, I'm just your regular old gal from the suburbs, just here to have some fun.
A couple of times suburbs. What suburbs are you related to?
Oh, the suburbs of San Francisco. I live in San Francisco. I've lived here for over 40 years.
I mean, you can't call San Francisco a suburb. It's
no. I'm in the suburbs of San Francisco. I live by the ocean, out by Ocean Beach in the Sunset District, which is sort of considered a suburb of San Francisco.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely.
And I wanted to mention that Suzanne is going to be hosting a David Bowie live stream coming up February 19th on Zoom. You can get tickets at menagerie.com. Suzanne, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. This is the 7th annual show that Peep Show Menagerie. They're a troupe out of Los Angeles. And it's a show called Oh These Pretty Things. All the songs are David Bowie centric. And they have Egypt Black Nile, who is the Golden Girl of Burlesque, who holds most burlesque titles of anybody at the moment as the headliner. She's fantastic, and it's gonna be awesome. They're only live streaming it one time, which is Friday, February 18th, and it's $15. And to log on, peepshowmenagerie.com, and then I'll be playing some Bowie tunes in between. So.
Oh, how wonderful. Have you been performing much actually over this big pandemic? Have you been able to do much?
Well, it's very bizarre. All of a sudden, I feel like my dance card is very, very full. I've been adopted by a couple, I'll call them Broadway show tune queens, who are just so prolific on the piano, and they run piano bars. And they're historic piano bars that are in Oakland and in San Francisco. And we do a thing called Bridge Bang, and we also do a thing called Quirky Cabaret. I did one outdoor stage on the back of a truck and made it in the news. I did one outdoor theater spectacle that I thought was a disaster because I didn't feel safe. And I'm going to start in 2 weeks. A club has been very ingenious, and on the second floor, they have built kind of like a fish tank. I'm going to feel just like a zoo animal, I'm sure, where you're behind plexiglass on the second floor, and all the patrons are outdoors, and then they have an outdoor speaker system. And I'm actually really excited to test this out. My maiden voyage is in 2 weeks.
It's something very different, but some good things come out of some things. And this pandemic, a lot of good has come out, actually. And I like to look on the positive side, because people in the entertainment business, especially, and it's whether you dance or play the piano or whatever you do, they have created different ways to do it. And so I love what they're doing. I think that's amazing. What we're doing, we're now on Zoom. I said I would never be on Zoom. I would never be on any of these platforms like this. Well, never's a long time. Hello, we're all here. And Neil, what are you doing to get everything out there? Because, you're very famous and everybody knows you, and sort of you've been clamped down because you have to be at a place.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really interesting, actually, because one of the things that I've done with this whole lockdown period, for the last maybe 20 years, I've interviewed so many stars of yesterday's burlesque scene, like people like Tempest Storm, Blaze Starr, Dixie Evans, Jenny Lee, all these incredible women, many of whom I have to say are no longer with us. So, I've been transcribing these interviews and putting together all of their incredible stories. And so I've always felt like I have been like a custodian, of these different burlesque stories. So I have been head down working like crazy on that. And because I can't physically be in a studio or anything at the moment, it's been a really cathartic experience. So today I was writing about New Orleans in the 1950s, and they had all these incredible people like Evangeline the Oyster Girl, and Divina the underwater stripper, and a lady that danced with a giant mechanical spider, all these really wonderful, wonderful women. So it's strange, I am actually kind of coming to terms with the whole situation, as we all have done in our different ways. But yeah, I'm just kind of making the best of it, and it's really prompted me to do this Mondo Burlesque project.
It hasn't let us go. We haven't gone anywhere. We're still around. We're just inventing different ways of being out there and getting out there. Now, you have been in the photography business for many years, and you've passed through and you've done many. Who's all the celebrities? Because I know you've got a list of celebrities you've photographed.
Oh, some amazing people in the burlesque world, and you say famous, but I say sort of burlesque famous or burlesque infamous.
Well, the same thing.
But all of the amazing people, and in fact, Kitten and I, the last time we were both together, we were at Dixie's birthday party, weren't we, in Vegas?
Oh, wow. I wish I'd
done. Yeah, the pair of us, and Suzanne was hosting and doing, as ever, a remarkable job. But yeah, I so many kind of like incredible stars of yesteryear, people like Dita Von Teese, the drag queens like Violet Chachki, you know, so many incredible people like Dirty Martini who, you know, dominate our scene today. So many incredible women and men as well, you know, that have come into the business.
Yeah, a lot of men have come into the business in the last few years. What is the difference as a photographer of taking all these, you know, different young ladies and older ladies and whomever? What is the difference you've seen when you started taking photographs and watching what the burlesque was and what burlesque is now today? What is the kind of difference in that as a photographer's side of looking, you're looking on and you're grasping that photograph?
So I would say for me, I always start with a concept. So, you know, if Suzanne was to come to me, we'd probably have a discussion or two in advance. Yeah. And I would probably create something. So she might be hatching out of a giant egg, or she might be a mermaid at the side of a lagoon or something. So, you know, that whole process, I don't know if that's necessarily changed, but I approach it very much. I love themes, and that goes hand in hand with like creating shows. I do these amazing theme shows like the Garden of Eden or the Birds of Paradise, you know, so I kind of love working to an idea or a specification, and that's something I often find is like a relationship that you have, because it's such an intimate thing, right? Taking someone's portrait, and I'm acutely aware if they're wearing next to nothing in front of you that you want it to be a safe, exciting experience for them as well. So yeah, there's all sorts of different ideas and negotiations and things before it gets to that studio moment.
But you kind of created your own kind of audience, your own kind of scene, and your own background, because when you see it, you take it, and when you don't, you don't. But you've always gone on rather than just a pose, you want a little bit more than a pose. You want a little background, a little something to it.
Yeah, now I'm completely inspired, I think like a lot of people in the entertainment business and the visual arts, by sort of film and writing and classic literature. So I can go full out and Cecil B. DeMille and create some kind of incredible exotic set, you know. So I love working not just with the bare lights, but sort of creating sets. And that's a big part of my work. They look very cinematic, a lot of the portraits that I take. So I build sideshows and circuses, and actually at the moment, I'm making this really beautiful fairy woodland with like giant toadstools and things in it. So I know it is complete Alice in Wonderland.
I love your attention to detail. It really does transport you when you look at your photos, and that's what I love about them.
For you, as you're the sort of person that Neil's going to take a photograph of, Suzanne, and so you don't see the background, you don't see what he sees, you're just presenting yourself. So when you know you've got a photographer in front of you, what do you exactly do? Do you do a different pose? Do you do a stand? How do you act with that?
Well, definitely you want to move around, you want to be comfortable. This is Tyra Banks, don't sue me, but I think smizing is important. I think smiling from your eyes is like, you want to give a piece of yourself through your pose, through your eye, through your movements. And I think that's what makes, if someone's going to photograph me, I think that's when I'm at my best, is when I use my best feature and express through the lens.
Yes,
and break that wall. I think that's important.
Yes, and I think it also, because of what the work you do, you probably have people have to see photographs of you, and they have to see what you look like and how you are. So that's kind of one of the first things they probably see is a photograph of you, if they don't know you in person. So you've got to make sure that looks good. And Neil's the one that makes that sort of, you know, that little gimmicky twist and that little, you know, that catch.
Yes. Speaking of wonderful and good things, I think Suzanne has prepared a song for us, and I'm so thrilled and excited to hear you, Suzanne. So please take it away, our beautiful guests, my lovely boss, Ninon de Rosa. I know you're going to enjoy this. Thank you so much.
Surprise for me. I did not know this was happening.
I know. So I hear we have a few Marilyn Monroe fans out in the audience, and this is a song that really resonates with me, Marilyn-wise. I wanna be loved by you, just nobody else but you. I wanna be kissed by you alone. I couldn't aspire to anything higher than to feel the desire to make you mine. Scooby-Dooby-Dooby-Ba-da. I wanna be loved by you, just you and nobody else but you. I wanna be loved by you.
Wow.
Bravo.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. I love it. I love it.
You ever dress up or look like Marilyn Monroe?
Pardon?
Do you ever look like Marilyn Monroe at any time? Do you ever dress up like that, or you just play the music?
No, I don't. I'm more of a Shirley Temple.
You're Shirley Temple, but you're also, you know who else you are? You're Eliza Minnelli.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
Have you got the eyes? Hasn't she, Neil? She looks a little bit like Liza.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got the look of one of those incredible 1920s Parisian boudoir dolls. Do you know the ones that I mean? With the
Ooh,
composite
thank you.
face
That's
in.
a compliment.
Suzanne, you have a totally cinematic face.
So what have you both got in store? What have you got in store coming up apart from the book you're writing, which is kind of a biography of your life? Is that what you're kind of doing, Neil?
No, no, it's very much Mondo Burlesque is collecting all of these women's stories.
Oh,
so you've had the wonderful April March on recently. So it's incredible women that were working from the very late 1930s up until the kind of like late 60s. It's all of their stories. So, you know, upcoming, my next interview is going to be the incredible Georgette Dante, and you know there won't be enough room on a tape recorder to get all her tidbits and stories and everything, because she's had quite the life.
Entertainment director.
Yeah, she's an incredible, incredible woman.
She's an amazing woman, and she's just got the energy, and she just keeps going and going and going. She also, we also had April March on. She was absolutely incredible. So we had, who else did we have on, AJ?
We also had Buttercup and Dusty Summers, and I love them both too.
The nude magician, yeah. There's a skill set.
Georgette, we've had a lot of burlesque people on our show.
Yeah.
Something which I had not anticipated, but it's probably something that really needed to get out there because we don't see many of them. So we have done this great big thing by bringing them on the show because of Georgette. So it's been amazing that we're bringing all this back again, and also that it's still around. You know, the burlesque is still quite big, and I think it's getting bigger. I'm not sure, but it's but it's,
you know, I always say burlesque has had more comebacks than Cher. You know, it comes back every 5 years. I mean, you know, Suzanne, you probably seen the same thing. You know, everyone's like, oh, that bubble's going to burst and it's going to become, you know, but it hasn't. I think as long as you have these incredible artists that have, what I do notice actually is now it's become more political. And I think you get a lot of people with something that has something really to say. You know, so I think it has evolved with society and it's adapted quite well like that, I think, burlesque. Its original meaning was to parody. So I think we now kind of see all these kind of amazing artists that are actually using their life experiences and their stories and their beliefs and sort of putting them there under the spotlight on stage. And it's really exciting to see and it keeps it fresh.
Yes, like I concur and agree completely. Just like Michelle Lamore and Jet Adore, who were on recently and bringing awareness and all of that wonderful message that the whole world really needs. And I just want to compliment you both. You both look fabulous. I just love your gorgeous attire. And thank you for putting in such thought into looking so wonderful tonight.
Thank you.
I was going back into the old days of the burlesque, how you know, they didn't wear very much and it was so risque. And now you see how people, what they do on stage, they got practically nothing on, is nothing. Yeah. And I think as Suzanne, you know, you're kind of in the younger generation, you're still out there, you're still performing. Well, you don't have to tell anyone, but you're still performing out there. You're still doing it all. I mean, you know,
I'm just starting. That's the thing. I'm just starting.
No, what do you mean you're just starting?
No. I meant that I feel like I'm sort of ageless. I'm almost 60 years old, but I just keep going, you know?
Well, I'm 39 and holding. I've just been holding a long time. That's all.
Yes.
You know, the British, fortunately, they manage to keep a good skin, you know, and they can fool us.
Because of the lack of sunshine.
Yes, that's true. We have all rain and everything and all that kind of stuff. Neil, if you could ever give a photographer any good advice, especially for the younger generation, what advice would you give them to coming out into the world of doing photography and to become well known like you and to sort of, you know,
In burlesque specifically, or just generally with photography?
Ukulele or burlesque, they could do burlesque, but that would take it away from you. We don't want that.
Yes. So what I would say is that I think if you're going to go into photography, or if you're going to be a musician or a burlesque performer, any of those things, any creative job, I think you have to have that passion, that vision, or something that's inside you, rather than looking at it as a commercial thing, because, you know, as we all know, burlesque is not, you know, you certainly don't go into it for the money. So I think if you've got like a passion or something that really calls to you, that really sort of connects with you, then take those photographs or write those songs or perform, you know, in that manner. If 1920s kind of dance is your thing, then great, knock yourself out. But don't try and emulate or be somebody else. Just find your own style and nurture that and develop that.
Would you call that the key to your success? Because you seem to have a passion for it.
What's the key? Yeah, you know what? I probably think, like Suzanne, I think we just get our heads down, we work, we love what we do. I think that's the biggest part of it, you know, because God knows there's enough ups and downs, you know, in this business. I would say I just really, you know, I really have loved what I do. And I would say it's interesting, you know, Suzanne was just saying about her age, because funny, we've probably not seen each other since we were both in Vegas about 8 or 10 years ago, and she's completely ageless. She looks absolutely no different, never changes. So I think that there's something about when you create, you know, it's like if you're an older person, and, you know, when I think about all my burlesque ladies, like Dixie Evans was 86, I think the last time I spoke to her, Tempest Storm is 93, but they still have that young mentality and that young passion and everything. And I think that makes a huge difference, having a passion about something, you know, a reason to get out of bed in the morning. I know that's an obvious thing to say, but
you walk into a room where you're going to take a photograph, it oozes that you're so excited to be there, and you're looking, what photograph can I take, how can I, and you're sort of analyzing and taking in the whole thing, and then off you go.
Yeah, and it never feels stale. I was just up in the studio, and whilst I can't shoot clients, I've been making this fairy toadstool set, and seriously, it's like I'm about 7 years of age at Greatwood County Primary School in 1976, you know, making a project. I feel that enthusiastic about it. I really love it, and I love the process of making the photographs, and then before the person comes onto that set, you know, there's a really it's just such a creative process.
And there's a lot of work goes into it. Now, Susan, what about the young ladies out there? You know, there's a lot of not burlesque going on out there that I'm going to talk about as of the young ladies, but if young ladies want to come into burlesque, how would you advise them to sort of not to feel shy about it, to feel good about it, and to enjoy it?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think for some reason, I've heard Dirty Martini say this, and I really admire her. Burlesque looks like it's a really easy art form, but in actuality, it is not. A lot of the performers have had years and years of training. Like back in my day, if you needed to have inspiration, say from a vintage film reel, you had to search that out. We didn't have the internet. And so I think going out, doing your research, and I mean,
and having a passion for it.
That was the next word that was going to come out, was having this passion. And as Neil said, I think things are really changing in the burlesque world. And it went from like fun, lighthearted to where there's a very powerful political message that's going on right now. And it's really nice to see that evolution.
It is nice to see that. In the meantime, Sue, go ahead, AJ.
I'm sorry to interrupt. What a dazzling and wonderful evening tonight, an interview with both our lovely guests. We have about 5 minutes left. I just want to let everybody know.
Well, thank you so much. Isn't AJ amazing? She puts all this together.
Is.
Thank you, AJ, for putting everything together.
She does everything, and I just, I'm guiding a little bit, what I can do. In the meantime, Susan, how can anybody reach you so that they can book a show with you?
Well, they can find me on kittenonthekeys.com, Kitten on the Keys on Instagram, Kitten on the Keys on Facebook page, and I have a YouTube channel, Kitten on the Keys. Go figure.
And what would you say your special thing you would like to say to your audience out there?
Oh, my special thing I would love to say to the audience is I miss you. I miss being able to have a crowd in the room there with me and reacting to people's reactions to what's happening on stage. And I'd also like to thank Georgette Dante for introducing me to you all. And I'm hoping when things open up, there's a film that she would like to do. And I am so honored that she wants me to do some musical comedy in it with Blanche DeVry as a host. So I'm looking forward to seeing people again and having projects work and traveling, getting on a plane. And I miss you and love you. And thanks for keeping the arts alive.
Susan Kitten, just remember one thing, you have a tremendous amount of talent. Just singing that Marilyn Monroe song, just jumping in on there and doing that, ad lib and kind of keeping it all together. You're a very, very talented young lady, so don't be surprised that Georgette wants you in her movie, because believe me, you have
an honor. My goodness gracious.
Have such a lot of talent. So that's one. Now, Neil, let's go over to you, and let's see, how can anybody book you and get in touch with you and give me all the info?
Literally, you can find me, probably the easiest place is Instagram, and that is Neil Nez Kendall, N-E-Z-L-Z in America, in the middle. So you will find me on Instagram, or Google me,
Google you. Do you do any other photography apart from burlesque? Do you venture into anything else, or do you just, that's kind of what you do?
That literally is what I do. I'm the National Vintage Photographer of the Year. So I kind of venture into that lovely kind of like cinematics or retro lighting, like film noir and things. So but that's literally all my work is sort of specialized into those fields. Especially
now, do we still have much burlesque in England? Because I know we used to have it at the Palace near Leicester Square.
Yeah, there are so many great shows here. Obviously right at this moment we're in lockdown, but I know with my own shows, Halloween's always a big one for me. Christmas is a huge one. I'm doing a crazy nightmare before Christmas. And last year was, the year before last year was Tits a Wonderful Life. So, so thematic shows. And you know what? It's so funny, Nolan, because I'm literally planning shows and casting and things. I mean, as Suzanne was saying, I cannot wait to get back out there and be with people. And I think, boy, it is going to be the roaring 20s all over again. This is my prediction, that when these shackles come off us, we'll all be out there creating, making it all happen again, right?
There's such a renaissance going on. And I just want to speak briefly about San Francisco, because so many artists were kicked out because the tech company came in, and rents are like, seriously, $4,000-$5,000 for a 1-bedroom. And because of the pandemic and all of the tech companies leaving, all of the artists here that are still here, like the fact that I'm still here is unbelievable. And I know that there's going to be a renaissance. There is going to be such a need for the arts, and I'm excited to be here to see that happen. I'm just thrilled, and I want to be a part of that revolution.
Oh, you will. Believe me, Suzanne Kitten, you'll definitely be a part of that. And Neil, what does emphasize? We don't have much time, but how can people reach you to do that? Because you do sets and you put on shows. I did not realize you put on shows as well.
Yeah. Over sort of 20 years of doing the shows. So I'm just going to keep it really simple. If you're running out of time, it's all through that Neil Nez Kendall Instagram. Just sort of find me there, and I post about the shows and the tickets and everything. But I cannot wait for us all to be creating and making new work. I'm just seeing this as, you know, it's funny. It's like we're at a new moment in history. This is our Second World War, our generation's Second World War. And I think so many great things will come out the other side of this, you know, and I really agree with what Suzanne said about the arts. You know, I think we're all chomping at the bit to sort of bring our skills to the table.
Vera Lynn's "We'll Meet Again" is like a hit again.